This is Pastor Howie with another edition of Readings and Thoughts from the Scriptures. Um, the video is a little bit different now because we are now using a camera on my phone, or not using the phone anymore. Something happened with my phone recently, as of yesterday actually, where all of a sudden it will not support doing landscape. So it's now supporting just portrait. And what that means is you get a small screen that's vertical instead of a wider screen. So I have a new camera for the laptop, and it comes with microphones, and so we're using that. Anyway, here we are, and continuing in the book of Acts, and we have come through most of chapter 27, which records for us the travels of the Apostle Paul and Luke and other companions, and the Roman guard that's with him from Caesarea Philippi to Rome, essentially. And a good part of this is a sea voyage across the Mediterranean Sea. They ran into a storm in the last video, and they're going to be shipwrecked in this video, but we see the hand of God with the Apostle Paul through all of this. So we're going to be reading Acts chapter 27, verse 27 through the end of the chapter, verse 44. And here is Luke's account of what happened at the end of this sea voyage. On the 14th night, we were still being driven across the Adriatic Sea, when about midnight the sailors sensed they were approaching land. They took soundings and found that the water was 120 feet deep. Fearing that they would be dashed against the rocks, they dropped 4 anchors from the stern and prayed for daylight. They'd already thrown the ship's tackling overboard. They didn't have sails to go by like they had before. So they're just kind of drifting with the current. In an attempt to escape from the ship, the sailors let the lifeboat down into the sea, pretending they were going to lower some anchors from the bow. Then Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, see, you've got land troops riding with seafaring folks, and the seafaring folks know that we're in a bad situation, and so they are trying to escape. Paul senses that and tells the land army, watch out. Here's what he says. Then Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, unless this men stay with the ship, you cannot be saved. So the soldiers cut the ropes that held the lifeboat and let it drift away. Just before dawn, Paul urged them all to eat. For the last 14 days, he said, you've been in constant suspense and have gone without food. You haven't eaten anything. Now I urge you to take some food. You need it to survive. Not one of you will lose a single hair from his head. After he said this, he took some bread and gave thanks to God in front of them all. Then he broke it and began to eat. They were all encouraged and ate some food themselves. Altogether, there were 276 of us on board. When they had eaten as much as they wanted, they lightened the ship by throwing the grain into the sea. How is Paul confident? Because Paul received a vision, if you recall from the last video, where he was guaranteed his life and the life of everyone who's with him. And so he is confident in what he tells the sailors and the centurion and the soldiers and the other passengers. Verse 39, when daylight came, they did not recognize the land, but they saw a bay with a sandy beach where they decided to run the ship aground if they could. Cutting loose the anchors, they left them in the sea and at the same time untied the ropes that held the rudders. Then they hoisted the foresail, that's all they had left, to the wind and made for the beach. But the ship struck a sandbar and ran aground. The bow stuck fast and would not move. The stern was broken to pieces by the pounding of the surf. The soldiers planned to kill the prisoners, to prevent any of them from swimming away and escaping, because if they let the prisoners escape, they paid with their lives. That was Roman rule. But the centurion wanted to spare Paul's life. God granted Paul to find favor in the centurion's eyes, like he did Joseph in Egypt when he was thrown into prison by the false accusation of Potiphar's wife. Centurion wanted to spare Paul's life and kept them from carrying out their plan. He ordered those who could swim to jump overboard first and get to land. The rest were to get there on planks or on pieces of the ship, which was breaking up. In this way, everyone reached land safely. God is faithful to the promise he made to Paul. And God is faithful no matter what kind of storms we may go through in our lives. May be seaborne, may be landborne. They may be physical storms like lake effect snow, or heavy rains, or ice storms, or tornadoes, or other natural disasters like floods and wildfires. But God is with us, and he will carry us through the storms. A Celtic blessing that I recite sometimes comes from the book of Celtic prayer, or the Celtic prayer book, and it goes like this: May the peace of Christ go with you wherever he may send you. May he guide you through the wilderness, or in Paul's case, across the sea. And may he protect you through the storm. Everybody got to land, as Paul was guaranteed by the angel who came to him in the vision in our previous video. And so the end of the blessing is, may you return home rejoicing at the wonders God has shown you. May you return to home rejoicing once again into your doors. And so I leave you with that blessing. I leave you with the thoughts that through all that Paul's gone through up to this time, life-threatening beatings, stonings, the storm, God has a purpose for Paul. And that's how the book of Acts will end when we get into chapter 28. God has a purpose for us as well. And so may you be blessed, and may you find your purpose in the Lord Jesus Christ and seek to glorify him. Till next time, may God bless you with the peace of Christ.